I went to a Father's Day mass yesterday,
Okay.
like a church thing.
Yeah.
There's these two guys. So I went to at this like Italian club because anyways, I was there, and at the end of it, they read all the names of like people that have passed, whatever. And these two guys came out with trumpets at the end, and they did like a little trumpet. It was kind of similar to what's the one?
Taps? Where my grandfather passed away.
Yeah,
they played,
the one you like.
What
What's
do
it
they
called
call
again?
it?
The last. The
it's the best song ever. Yeah, it gets me right in the heart every time I hear it.
So it was like that kind of vibe. It was awesome. These guys, two guys on the trumpeteering.
When my grandfather died. Wow, like it was a pretty neat thing. It wasn't a big funeral or anything because for whatever reason, and kind of wrapping up. He was like in the military for a long time, and then they came in all business. Like it's amazing. You see these guys at the grocery store, you wouldn't know what they did, and then they came in all uniform, flag and all that stuff, and they came in all professional. The salutes, they played that thing. When they play that song, you have no choice, but like it makes you just go, wow. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, so they did that, which was cool.
So did you enjoy the service?
It was fine. Like I try to. I'm not like super religious by any means. I try to. How do I want to say this? I don't like try to think that. I can't figure out what I want to say.
See, that's a problem here, especially when you're on a podcast. You gotta just talk.
You know what it is? I think it's that I have respect for the fact that any religion, it's not just like I'm Catholic, I guess, but like we weren't really like practicing. We weren't like super go to church and stuff. But like I have respect for the fact that all these different religions have stood the test of time this long, and there's like something there. So I don't like arrogantly look at it thinking like this is stupid, all this stuff, like, and just look at the negatives of it. Because if you go look at organized religion, like there's a lot of things you can poke at it, obviously. So I don't prefer doing that. Like I don't want to go there and like if I'm in the middle of a service just be like scoffing at how nonsense this is. Instead I try to like look at it and say, okay, why have people been doing this for so long, and like what are the good parts of it that you can learn from and all that kind of shit. That's more where my brain goes. So I wouldn't say like I overly enjoyed it, but I didn't not enjoy it or think it was stupid or anything. I think it's cool. Like they have all the songs in the choir, and it's like very coordinated and organized, and everyone wears their different things, and they have their different symbols, and you know they do their readings, and everybody knows the responses to things and all that stuff, which can be kind of cool. But you can see like it's big. The community of it is nice for people and all that stuff. So I didn't mind it, and I don't go very often to stuff like that. So it was fine. It's just more of like an experience than anything. But they do readings from the Bible and stuff like that. And have you been to like a church, like a mass service before?
Like I am 57, man.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you fucking never gone to one.
Yeah, I've done things. I've been to a Catholic, and I've been to a Baptist. I've been to a Pentecostal.
Okay, I got you.
And
so you get the gist of.
Yeah, there are a lot of different ones, and I could see where someone is like, "Why would you do this?"
Yeah, right.
And I could see why. Okay, for example, a Pentecostal church versus while we're a religious I don't like doing this actually.
How about this? Eh?
No, I like talking about stuff like this because I actually studied a lot of this stuff, and I'm not religious at all. But I wanted to know if there's a little background from me. I don't like to speak unless I have something to speak about. So when in my ignorance, I studied a whole bunch of religions, not to become a priest or a Baptist, anything.
Hey,
I just wanted to know. So like if someone says, "Do you believe in this?" I could say, "Well, yeah, because," or "No, because," or whatever, and I could just have something to have a conversation about. So that's what I found. I found a lot of the people that I knew so I went to, when I tried to go to a couple of churches, I found like the Catholic where like they just followed, and it was like, okay, now you say yes, now you stand up, now you sit down, and I go, okay, to me that's weird. Why are you standing up? Why are you sitting down? Why are you closing your eyes? Like that was weird. And then if you went to like a Southern Baptist Pentecostal thing, you see people dancing around and speaking what they call it in tongues and stuff. You're like, okay, I can see where you guys think that's nuts, and you guys think that's nuts.
Yeah, right.
And you're supposed to basically, ultimately, you're believing in the same thing, which is neat. But anyways, I don't want to talk about religion on this. Like, no, only because like
That's not why people are here.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Who cares, right? But the one thing I would encourage, like about it, is if you, I don't like it when people speak stupidly about stuff. So, for example, when someone blindly says, "Yeah, there's no such thing as God," it's like, well, how do you know? And then when people say, "No, there, 100% there is," it's like, well, how do you know? Like, give me a basis on that. Like, when someone says, "Well, you just need to have faith," that's like, to me, a not intelligent way to answer. Is there, like, why you believe in something? Well, you just have to have faith. It's like, well, that's not really an intelligent answer. But if you gave me, because I studied this, this, and this, and I understand this, and you put a good, you can explain a basis for why you believe in something, that's good. Because otherwise, I think what you just blindly go around believing whatever mom told you to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So-
I'm the exact same way. That's why I don't like just like a pet peeve for me, like a character trait that I don't like is when people are like so sure about what they know about everything. So that's my only thing is like when people are so quick to dismiss anything, either way,
Yeah.
right? Because you could be the religious guy that looks at the non-believer person and like, oh, what a pity, like this poor peasant doesn't know better. Like I don't like that kind of mentality on anything. So just asking questions.
Or the religious guy that says, well, like when you talk about the Big Bang Theory or whatever, that evolution, they go, wow, right?
So I'm kind of on the same page with that. I like learning about stuff like that. You know, it's cool. It's no different.
Dinosaurs, all that's all great. Can I give you a little thing on the weekend? So I just told you before we got on the air that air
On the air.
Yeah,
Hey.
the air, like freaking, come on there, Walter Cronkite. Before we got on this thing, like, right? We went to Detroit Tigers game yesterday.
Yeah.
So I that's one of my favorite things to do is go to a Tigers game, and it's I don't even love baseball that much. I played it and all that stuff, but I love the atmosphere because you don't have to be like, if you miss something, it's okay.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fun. You have a couple beers.
Focused.
So I brought my kids. So anyways, it's a longer story than it probably needs to be, but it's a really cool thing. So last summer, so we've said this so many times on podcasts before, how if you're not from in Ontario, probably in Canada, if you're not from Toronto, who are you? That's how the Toronto looks at anything else. If you're not in the greater Toronto area, you're a hillbilly from North Carolina. It doesn't matter, right? So I remember when I moved from Sudbury to Windsor, people said, "Why would you move to Windsor?" I'm like, "Because it's awesome." Like I when I started coming down to the Windsor area, I'm like, "This is the greatest thing." Detroit was right there. It was so awesome. Anyways, I love Windsor. I love this area. I moved here for a reason. When Charlie got drafted to Guelph, a lot of people were from the Toronto area, and they go, "Wow, you come all the way from Windsor." Like Windsor was like this shithole place from nowhere. And I get it. It was across from Detroit, especially years ago, was like, Detroit was a pretty ugly, it has some history. Anyways, so that's that. I still love Windsor, but I couldn't understand why people don't like, you never been down here. It's awesome. So then last summer, when we did our next generation camp with BioSteel, a whole bunch of the OHL guys came down and they stayed at our house. They're driving home with, Charlie was taking them over at the house. And as they're coming through my town, just outside of Windsor, called Essex, it's a small town. And they're going, what do you do here? And when you live somewhere, you get, okay, there's this, and this. And like but I said that to my wife. I go, I'm not living in Essex. I live there. But anyways, they're going, what do we do? Like, what are we going to do? So anyways, they were laughing, making fun of the town. They went to a little pizza joint, had some good time, came back to the house, whatever. And they were like making fun of it. So anyways, they couldn't believe it. Me and my son love Detroit and Windsor. So the beautiful thing about where we live is, like, actually myself, I live in the county around a whole bunch of farms in a small town. 15 minutes, I'm at the border. I can be in Detroit. 15 to 20 minutes. Detroit. That's like a big center, obviously. Go an hour and a half. It's London. 2 hours, a couple hours from Toronto. It's an awesome place to live. We love Detroit. Like, my family loves Detroit. And when my son went to the Wings camp last year, it was like awesome. He stayed right downtown. So yesterday we went to this game. He knew downtown inside out because he spent like a week and a half, 2 weeks there, trolling around with the boys. So he was showing me all the hot spots of like where we could hang out and stuff. So it was really cool. It's really rejuvenated. It's a really good downtown. Anyways, we're at the game. We stood. We didn't grab seats. We grabbed the standing room only. Left field, 3 home runs landed right in front of us. Talk. Had a great day. My wife was with us. It was awesome. And he goes, Dad, if you want, we'll go to Buddy's Pizza after. It's the best place. And I've been there before with one of my students in Detroit. So then he gave me the whole lowdown on how Buddy's Pizza was made. So most people know Chicago style pizza, thin crust pizza, whatever other kind of pizzas there are. A lot of people would never know what a Detroit style pizza is. Do you know what it is?
No.
No?
No, I don't think so.
It's the best pizza.
Or like maybe I've seen it, but I don't know that's Detroit
Well,
style.
you should know. So Detroit style pizza is square rectangular. Every piece has an edge, but it's cut in squares. And it's thicker. So Buddy's Pizza is on the corner. Awesome. So Charlie was telling me the history of that. The guy that started that is the Detroit style pizza was started back in the Depression. And the guy, Buddy, it must be Buddy that started it. He started the pizza by taking the oil pans out of the Ford and all that kind of stuff, clean them all up, and he would make his pizzas out of that. So in that pizza, the dough was a little bit thicker. He made it thicker, put the sauce on top because he didn't want the crust to get soggy. It's thicker, it's got a crust, it's the best.
Really?
Yeah. So anyways, Charlie and I are sitting down there, and my wife, we're sitting down there having a beer, having pizza downtown Detroit, the big city vibes off. So he sends Cam Allen a video of Detroit because Cam loves the big cities and stuff like that. Awesome vibe. So Charlie's he'd love to play for the Red Wings, but that would be his ultimate goal in life, play for the Red Wings. Yeah. So when he was at their camp last year, he goes, I'd live down here. I would live.
What a downtown, eh?
It's awesome.
Amazing.
It's awesome. It's not too big.
No.
It's
I
awesome.
love going down
but
there
I'm
too.
sure most NHL downtowns are somewhat like that, but it is awesome. It's a history. It's the Detroit Red Wings,
this
man.
one I like. I like that Windsor has a little more than Essex, obviously, but you can get away from the big city. That's what I like. Like, so it's so accessible getting over there. So like my Christine's over there working. I cross like quite a bit. I have my Nexus now, so I just can zip through the border super quick. And you take a 10-minute drive from my house and I'm in a big city, and then I can drive 10 minutes back and I'm nowhere near a big city. You know, it's like it's such an awesome spot. That's why I never understood why people always, like you were kind of alluding to, is that the smack talk in the Windsor. It's like it's such a great spot. Like it's like, I don't know.
And Detroit's awesome.
Yeah, Detroit is great.
I love Detroit.
Yeah, cool.
Imagine someone from Florida going, "You like Detroit?" Now, if I've come back from vacation, flying back, right? We were in California, Boston, Florida a couple of times over the years. And when you do come back and you're flying from the airport back to Windsor, oh, it ain't nice because it just looks like an industrial shithole. But it's an awesome city. Anyways, I digress. Talk about something that's not Detroit.
Did you watch either of the games over the weekend?
Yeah, I fall asleep early.
Well, I guess Thursday night and what was it? Thursday night and Saturday night. Did you watch either of them or no?
Half.
Did you watch like the highlights or anything?
Oh yeah.
Okay. The last game. Did you see the Brad Marchand's 2 goals? Okay. Any? Do you remember the goals or no? Okay. Anything about them that just like comes to mind that stands out about the goals?
Well,
for you,
number one, hardworking, smart.
Like specific to the play though, like the actual plays of the goals. Do you remember exactly what happened?
Well, one was off a face-off. You're talking about that one, like the neutral zone.
Yeah.
Okay. So he just like, is there something that you saw out of that?
Right. I just want to see if it's stood out to you too.
Well, I only watched the highlight of that.
Okay, so his first goal was off that neutral zone faceoff. The second goal he scored was off a D zone faceoff.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and he beat Ekholm, right?
He beat. Yeah. So I forget who it was that he was lined up with off the neutral zone faceoff where he scored his first goal, and then whoever he was lined up with off the second faceoff in the D zone broke right out through the neutral zone with speed and scores 2 huge goals in that game, and that was what stood out to me about those 2 faceoffs or those 2 goals was the faceoffs. It's like right off the draw, just ready to compete the second the puck dropped, and the other guys weren't. He was more ready. And I'm so curious if those, I guess for Edmonton, about what kind of shit they might be going through in their video session about their coverage off of the faceoffs. You get a guy like Brad Marchand that explodes out through the draw, and simply because he was ready before you, he ended up creating 2 offensive chances off of nothing, right? And so that was a cool little like thing I wanted to touch on for people that were watching that game. Like, hit the goal he scored was awesome. Like, what a nice goal. But the 5 seconds before that off the face-off, in the neutral zone, and then that D zone off the D zone draw, that 10 seconds before that goal on the D zone draw. So the fact that he was ready to jump in and battle on the right off the draw and make guys have to keep pace with him led to those 2 goals. And those are the kind of things, like when we talk about, game within the game stuff, making sure that your details are solid and those skills that aren't quite as obvious. That was a really glaring example. Twice in the same game, he just had a readiness off the faceoff. And like the reason that one hit home for me a lot was because we talked about that a lot with my team this year, was being ready off the draw. And I always use like the rugby analogy off the faceoff. I was like, the faceoff is a scrum. Like your job number 1 is you battle to get the possession until the possession is clearly one way or another. Then you move on to something else, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I thought that was super cool.
I love it because it's you can look like the smartest guy in the world after when you start picking on stuff like this. But that's exactly what you're talking about. Is it's so easy to not pay attention to maybe something like that. It's a face-off, neutral zone face-off. What's going to happen? Like really, what is going to happen? But that's exactly what happens. A guy chose not to, or let's say one guy might have been a little bit too relaxed on a face-off that everything matters, and the other guy might have been just so hyper ready to say in his head that something's going to happen. Obviously, it was a good bounce for Marchand to take advantage of, but those little details they can win and lose the games, and that's huge. It's huge, man. Yeah.
So I just let me check something.
It's rebounds, it's net front, it's the wall, right? It's incredible. Little things, man. Little things make a big difference.
So we use Instat for a lot of our video stuff, and so you can go through and watch. If anyone hasn't used Instat before, it's crazy. It's like the best software ever. So you can actually watch Brad Marchand on Instat, which is cool. So you can go back and watch all of his shifts. For any coaches, if you have access to this, if you don't, it'll be harder to do. But what I'm curious of, which I didn't check, so this some people could actually go do, is go check all of his shifts where it starts with a face-off and see if he does that same thing, right? So like I can also like just sit here and highlight the fact that off 2 face-offs he jumped in, but go see like, is that a habit? Is that something every face-off? Is he just hammering through and like pushing on guys and getting into the battle right off the face-off? Is that a habit that actually is integrated into his game, or was it something he just did twice and then happened to get lucky on? If I had to bet, I would say he probably does that every single face-off, and it worked out these 2 times. But the vast majority of times, it probably doesn't work out this good for us to point it out, but it's still a habit that he probably has every single time he lines up for a face-off. Is he's jumping in to help or get something done or whatever as a veteran guy. It's crazy, man. Like 37 years old, Brad Marchand now, and like it's one of
the best players on the ice.
So
what I love about the playoffs, though, talk to my kid about that. It's like what really matters is you have some grit. The best players in the playoffs are the grit guys. They're not getting paid as much as the other guys.
Yeah,
it's hilarious,
no
man.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
It's amazing.
Is there a guy that is your favorite player right now in the playoffs or no?
I mean, I wouldn't say favorite, but I mean, there's so many guys. You know what? I'm absolutely loving my friend Aaron Ekblad right now.
Yeah? Cool.
I think this is the best hockey he's played ever. I love the way he's playing right now. Like because Aaron, I would have never considered him to be like overly physical. He get the job done, but like honestly, he's worth every dime that he's making right now, and maybe more.
He's playing a hard game.
I'm so proud of him. Like he's adjusted that, like, and probably just whatever he's doing it, and I love it. He's a very physical, very, very, very effective, and the points come anyways. And then I love Corey Perry. I love him. And just I love the fact that the grit guys show up, man. They get this, they make things happen. I think Edmonton's really hurting without Zach Hyman. I think, my opinion. And then on Florida, like I do, Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand. I mean, I love it. I like that whole team. Like, but the guys that are gritty, man, I love it. I absolutely love it. I love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
The thing that blows my mind. I've been saying this for a long time. It's like when you look at the NHL and how they, we say it's a copycat league, and if some team builds a faster team and a skilled team, like it seems teams like to follow, but teams win with grit. It is what it is.
So I had the coaches site conference over the weekend which was awesome. First time I've been there. Had a lot of cool things, a lot of really good speakers. Their last, you listen to the Glass and L podcast. Their last speaker on Saturday was Brad Larson. He's assistant coach at Calgary, and what a awesome talk, man. So you'll hear it. It'll come out on the Glass and L podcast. You can listen to it. Super.
I believe it's out already. No,
Did they release it? I didn't even look.
well, I've heard him on there. I think maybe not.
I don't know,
I
but
believe he has been out.
it was like a live recording from the
Oh, okay.
conference.
Obviously not then.
So maybe they did. I didn't look, but either way, I'm assuming it's going to be out there. But what a nice man. Holy cow. And so he's super intense. Like he played pro for a long time and all that. But speaking of faith, man of faith.
I know that. I was going to say that.
Yeah.
And I said, maybe I won't going to say that.
No, yeah. But he was very open about it. Like he was talking
Dalton
about
told
it.
me that because Dalton played with him.
Yeah.
For him.
Yeah. Did he really?
Yeah.
When?
In Columbus. He was
Really?
an assistant coach
Cool.
or something. Yeah.
So he said he was he's assistant coach with Torque. He mentioned John Tortorella quite a bit. So he was awesome speaker, which was cool. But really awesome event. Like going through, we did some tours like with the team of like all the Michigan facilities and stuff like that, which was cool. And the last time I'd been to Yost Arena was when we played there in 2016 for exhibition game. Lost 2-0, but that was the last time I'd been there. So it was cool, kind of going through all the locker room and whatever. The locker room's actually upstairs from the rink and all that stuff. And then we did a tour of the big house, like went on the field down there and all that stuff, which was kind of cool. But it was awesome to meet some of the people that were there, like some of the partners that we work with too. I met a lot of the guys there that were doing their what do you call their like booth setups, and also it was awesome, man. So met a lot of coaches were there. I probably talked to at least 50 people on the podcast that just came up to say hi. So it was cool. Yeah, it was cool just meeting people from all over the map. I had a extended conversation with one guy that came from Edmonton out west. Another guy came from a little bit more down south and stuff. So people were coming up the whole time talking about it, which was really cool. So that was cool to get to engage with some people in person. But yeah, it was a really awesome event. There was one guy that was there. He did a talk. His name is Ryan Blank. And he's from this company called Deviate, which that's these cards.
Okay, I see you had some props here today.
So I brought these because I want you to do this actually live because I think it's actually kind of a cool exercise. I'm gonna cut out like the lag time between when you're actually doing it, but I want you to organize it because I kind of have a point. So I want you to take first these 3 cards, and he did this exercise with everyone in the crowd at the conference. So just like read what those 3 cards say.
Yeah. Does it matter that you know? I guess you're going to read them. Eh? Yeah. Okay.
So just read what they say. Like what do the cards say?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's not secret?
No.
So how did it come out like this? Is that organized to be these?
So no, I just gave you those.
On purpose?
Yeah.
Okay. So very important to me, not important to me.
Right. Okay. So just lay them on the table.
Okay. Place or lay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So then I'm going to give you these cards, and you're going to look at each of these cards and put them in the pile that is appropriate.
Oh boy. Okay.
Okay. So this is going to take like a minute. So just
You ever see me shuffle?
I'll cut the lag time out here.
Other is that you just fill those in? Okay. So I don't have a lot of not importance, but there probably could be a couple more.
Okay, so you did it. So how did you find doing the exercise? Like in terms of like, was it hard to do, or did you find it easy to do?
No, I didn't find it hard. But if I was to be honest, as this thing says, honest, if I was to be honest, I would like to explain and maybe like.
Okay, so we'll do this.
Okay,
so
no, but I want to give you my answer. I would love to explain to myself and to like reflect on what that actually means. Like, okay, so this one here says God's will, surrendering your will and accepting God's will for your life. And I put it as not important to me, but it might be because it's like, what do you consider God's will? Is it like being a good human? Or so it depends on what you consider God. You're asking me if it's Buddha or Jesus Christ, it's like that's not important to me. But maybe it is. So that's a faith thing. So anyways, I'm not just throwing it in a pile for no reason.
Okay, so I want to take you keep the ones that are very important. And then
take very important?
Yeah, and then give me the other ones.
Okay. And then we got to do it again.
So now you're gonna now you're gonna go.
Oh,
from
okay.
How many of those cards do you have? Actually, just count them.
So
I'm doing this the exact same way that the guy did it when
19.
Okay, 19. So you got to try to cut it to 15 now.
Cut it to 15.
Cut it to 15. So
All
you gotta cut out 4 of them.
Okay,
That's
so
fine.
I got to put one back.
You can.
I don't have to.
I'm gonna make you cut more anyways.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now from those, you got to cut it down to 10.
All right.
It's worth it.
Yeah, it's all good. It gets pretty
Right?
yeah, like it's
Okay.
You're gonna
So
turn
here's-
into like what's your most important thing here?
Okay. So here's your 10. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's your 10. So now you have to cut it to 5.
Yeah.
But keep the second 5.
Okay.
So the 5 that you remove, you keep, but keep the 5. So now lay out the 5 just on the table so you can look at them. Doesn't have to be in any particular order necessarily. Okay, so basically we did this exercise as part of the conference. So we got to this point, and he had 3 guys on the stage doing it with him, like 3 coaches doing it on the table on the stage. And it was cool to listen to him talk to these guys, and he was asking them basically like why you picked certain things, why you didn't, and then contrasting like the different values that some of them have. So he asked them, I'll ask you the same question if you're open to sharing. If you have to pick one of them where you can kind of tell a story about how it impacted you, why it would be in your top 5, which one would you pick, and what would your kind of story be behind it? Can
Humor.
I pick one? Okay,
Yeah,
I was gonna ask you humor.
Yeah, okay.
So why is that one for you? And like how did it impact your life in such a way that you would keep it in your top 5 things that are very important to you?
Yeah, okay. So one would be I grew up with grandfather that was very, very, very funny. So I had uncles and aunts that were very funny, and I always liked people that made me laugh or I can make laugh. So it lightened the mood. It would always make things fun to be around, and I always find people that have humor are just like the best people to be around. It's almost like you can't have a bad day with people that are humorous or very funny. So I value a funny person. And then I also respect people that are not stupid funny all the time, but that are funny, because with humor comes some intelligence. You have to be witty, you have to be smart, you have to see things from a different angle. And if you're not funny, I have a hard time getting along with you.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to just say what the 5 are that you picked?
Humor, genuineness, family, health, and courtesy.
Cool. So is there anything else of those 5 that you feel like is worth touching on before I give you the other 5 back?
Health. I like genuine. I like genuine because I think it shows up in. No, I think genuine for me is just it's the way I am. I am a genuine person. If I don't like you, you will not necessarily know it, but we won't never hang out. And I will not gravitate to things. And if I do like you, then you know you're going to be a good friend. So I think the genuineness comes out like that for people that I'm close to, especially, they know that that it's a real conversation. It's a real like everything's real. Like I think real is very important to me, and being fake is not important. Like I hate it. I don't like it at all. So I think a genuine conversation, if someone says like whatever, you had a good game today, I want it to be genuine, not the word that people are supposed to say. So I think it's important. I think it's almost like the basis of honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Is that wrong? Or
no? It's all your own.
No one made you a psychologist,
no,
anyways.
Nobody did. No, it's all your.
But
own
I do like
answers.
health too, because, anyways.
No, of course, I get that. But there's a million cards here that I have. So if any of you guys haven't seen this, you can look up Ryan's work, because this is what he did with us there with Deviate. So basically, there's a bunch of different cards that like this that have these kinds of words, and you kind of pick your values more or less. So for you, those 5 kind of would represent or give the best representation of the things that are important to you. So the way that it kind of related back, he was talking about as a coach. This was maybe kind of my lesson that I pulled out of it listening, is like, it's kind of important that you know what these things are for yourself, right? Because when you're going to, and how many people, I would think, if just knowing you as a human individual, you kind of would have had a kind of grip on this already, more or less, of like the things that are super important to you. But I bet you there's a lot of people that don't. And so getting to know what actually is important, because these things, whether you know them or not, are going to be things that come out in different situations when you're coaching. So it's important that you actually know what you stand for. And that was what the title of his talk was what you stand for as an individual, which I thought was kind of interesting. So then he gave these 5 cards back. So now you have your 10 again. Okay. And he said, now do the same thing pick your top 5, but if you were applying it to a team, like a team you coach, of these 10, pick 5 that you think, or I think you did 3 actually. Pick the 3 that you think you would apply to like team values. If you're the coach of a team, on like, you know, the stereotypical what you'd write on the wall for like, this is the team identity or team whatever. Like, which 3 things would you pick for a team?
That's I'm looking at it from a performance side. Okay, let's just say I did that.
Okay, what are the 3?
Purpose, commitment, and growth.
Okay, why do you think those are the 3 that you pick?
Well, in my world of training hockey players and living life, I find that if you do not have a genuine, there's my word, a purpose, then it's very easy to do nothing, or do nothing really well. If you go to the gym to exercise, that's fine. If you go there with a purpose, then there's an actual, it's like, it's putting it on a different level. So results are better. I think if you have a purpose, your results are, everything you do has a purpose, and then you get better results. Commitment, to me, it's a big word. Like for a hockey team, why would I pick that? Is because if you're not committed, then I think if you're not committed, then your trust is gone, right, from your other teammates. So you want to have everybody committed, and that means, it means a lot of these words can be intertwined, I think, but commitment, knowing that we're committed to win and committed to the purpose. We're all committed to the purpose, and we'll do whatever it takes to win. And that might mean I take a back seat to you, not because, it might mean I take a back seat to you because you're playing really well and you're performing, doing something really well, but I might have to do something that I'm not really comfortable with, but for the greater good of the team, the commitment, right? That's what I think. And then growth, I think it's one of the biggest things, is that you're always trying to develop from a good team to a great team to a super great team. Whatever growth is, the one thing I always say is that if you're not growing, you're dying. So as a team, I think that's a very important thing too. If you're not growing, you're dying. I think if you're not growing, you're dying. I think that goes mentally. I think it goes physically. I think it goes as a team. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. Period. So I think growth is big time. And I think from that you can take, and just to expand on that, I think out of those 3 words, your values of honesty, like that could come into purpose and hope too. Like I think, or purpose and commitment, and I think those words are intertwined. And if like I say, you got family, well, family could be another word for team, another word for another thing that you want, right? What's the purpose of getting married? It takes commitment, growth, all that kind of stuff to sustain it. So
for sure.
Yeah.
So somebody actually said exactly what you said. One of the coaches that was at the table was kind of like a lot of these words, depending on how you interpret it, you can weave them in to have some crossover meaning and stuff like that. So it's very personal to your own, subjective things that you value, which is important. But I thought it was cool because both as an individual and then from the team perspective, it is, I think that's somewhat of a baseline you should establish for yourself, once a year or something, like before the season starts, or even just as an individual outside of a coach, as a family, as a parent, as a player, knowing the things that are actually important to you. Because a lot of this is a Jordan Peterson thing that I learned, and I don't even do this as much as I should, but it's something that I fully appreciate, is if you never ask yourself the question of what you actually want to do, or what you actually care about, or what's actually important to you, if you don't actually ask yourself to get the answer, you actually don't know the answer. Right?
You just think you might like that.
Exactly. So if you're not explicit about it, where you actually, either put it on paper or write it down somewhere, or do something with it where it's actually explicitly stated to yourself, it's hard to know.
Yeah.
It's hard.
So one of those, to me, the word family. To me, that's a word that I think is overused. I know people say, "What are you talking about?" Almost everyone says, if you don't have nothing, you don't have family. Family's everything. It's like, okay, hang on. Like, I'm not saying it shouldn't be. I look at that differently because I have you, for example, who is not my family, not my bloodlines, that I would put ahead of a whole lot of family, because I know what you've been there through and for and willing to do for me. And I'm not saying being careful here a little, but I think you have family, there's that family that you are really tight with, but just because you're my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad, doesn't make us have to be tight. Like, we could argue, and maybe that's a good thing, but maybe we just do not get along, and and maybe people toss family is the most important thing around without really thinking about it, is what I'm saying. And maybe I don't throw it around enough. I don't know.
Well, that was one
But
thing I actually learned from you that you'd said to me about family, the definition, because I would have been one of those people when I was younger of like taking for granted that family, like my immediate family. But the only reason that was the case is because we were really tight and did get along, you know. But for a lot of people, that's not necessarily the case, and their family is not necessarily their blood family. I think a lot of people have that situation in their life. But the point being, if for you as an individual, putting down family, that means something to you. It might not be exactly the same thing it means to
that's
everybody else,
exactly.
right? So but I guess I really like this. I like the presentation and doing this because for that exact reason I was just saying about the Jordan Peterson thing is like sometimes you actually have to ask yourself the question of what do you want and what do you care about, and you might get a different answer than you think. And this is why I get so caught up on words. This is why like the precision of words is very important to me, because you go through and you look at some of these things, and to your point, some of these words kind of mean the same thing, but not quite. And so if your only option was this word and you're like, that's not exactly right, that's not the exact thing that I care about. And then you go to the next card and it's this next word and it's like, that's the one, like that's the thing that I actually care about. You can be more precise in your own mind of what you care about focusing on and working on and striving towards and all of those things. So that's why I really liked doing this exercise. This was probably the presentation from the coach's site. This was probably the one I was most attentive to. One, probably because it was a little bit more interactive.
Yeah, 100%.
But two, it was a very like internal exercise where you have to like reflect within and try to actually think about it. And so for people that don't take stuff like this seriously, that's fine. You can do whatever you want. But for me, I just thought it was useful. It's a useful baseline to set for yourself as a coach or as a parent or whatever. And then it's a useful thing to do with your team, even if you want your team to be on the same page at the very least, right? Okay, so I got interrupted because I was helping Charlie do his workout, so I don't remember my last thought. So just as a recap, this was an awesome exercise that we did at the conference, and I think it's important that people do something like this. So if you want to look into Ryan's work, Ryan Blank, I must be saying that right, Blanck, Ryan. Yep. It was great. Good exercise to do. He actually gave everybody at the conference this deck of cards. So I'm sure you can find something like it online. He said there was a downloadable thing. So if you go to his website or follow any of his work, I'm sure you'll be able to run into it to find it. But I thought it was a pretty cool thing just for coaches and people in general. Like you want to know what the values are.
Yeah,
right?
I think even one of the things players should look at, like not coaches now, players, is you should look at. It's like that 5 things that I talk about. Have 4 or 5 things that you know that you are on the ice, and if you really think about it, are you that, and do you play like that? Because you hear a lot of people say, "I play like Tom Wilson," and I know you don't, though, right? Or I play like Mitch Marner. Well, no, you don't, or So it's good to have challenge yourself to see where you're at, and thinking's good for you, man.
Well, and this was just maybe my last thing, and then we'll shut up. That lady that talks about stuff to do with the phones a lot was there too, Larissa Mills, right? She runs like I think it's called the Mental Game Academy or something like that. And she talks about the distraction of phones and all that stuff. And she gets into, I was talking to her a little bit while we were there and just talking about how like the kids don't think. And when you do stuff like this, when you force yourself to have to answer questions and it's not sufficient to say, I don't know, or I'm not sure, and you have to force yourself to find answers, that is what is going to make you have to start thinking. And like thinking is a skill, and it'll apply to you solving problems and all that shit on the ice, off the ice, and like things that you want to do just in general, right? So this is an exercise where if you're a parent or a coach and you don't necessarily know how to go about doing that, this is something that kind of forces everybody to do that without you having to be explicit and pointed about your questions. Because if you're a coach and you're not strong at doing that, then maybe a tool like this would be helpful, right? So just something to think about. Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. That's what Mac was saying. He's like, he's gonna bring it back and do it with his guys as like a team building thing where you can come up with your team values, even, right? So it's a cool thing. So wrapping up, everything like that whole weekend was awesome, man. And the guys that are on the coach site staff, I actually did a drill for them. Like, you ever see the coach site drills where like a coach draws out a drill and they explain like what it's for and whatever? Have you seen those videos on social media? So Mac and I both did one of those. So I think it might come out that the ones that we did on that, or it'll be on the coach's site website anyway. So it was pretty awesome. So anyways, hopefully that's something kind of useful. Maybe something if you haven't thought about it. It's not really something I had thought about, so I thought it might be cool to share with everybody that listens. So that's it. This weekend we're going to Matterhorn again. So I'll be at Matterhorn down in Florida over the weekend. So by the time this comes out, I'll already be there. So if you end up hearing this and you're around that or at the showcase or whatever, I'll be there coaching. So hopefully I'll see more of you guys there. That's all I got. Anything else for you?
No, I'm good, man.
Good? Okay.
Thank you.
Ciao.